It's good to see everyone's face. I do want to introduce someone. So first off, my name's Sarah Davis. I am the interim director of membership for SNRS. And so we have a great team of people. One of our goals for SNRS this year is just engaging students and making sure that we're meeting the needs of students, no matter what your program is or where you are in your program. Just remember you have a lot to offer as a student, and we're very excited to work with you. I'd also like to introduce Annette. Annette, do you want to introduce yourself? Annette's on the Student Network Committee, SNRS Student Network Committee. And so I'll let her introduce herself and give you a little bit more information about that.
Okay, yes. So I am entering my third year of my PhD program at Texas Woman's University. And I actually live in Arkansas and I teach at an undergraduate program at University of Central Arkansas in Conway, which is about 30 minutes north of Little Rock. And so I am the chair of the students portion of the student network. And so basically, I'm just kind of leading the student group, but we're working hand in hand with members who are established to help us get going. We had the student network last year, and I've been to 3 SNRS conferences through my institution here at work that they send me. So I've been to the student networking breakfast and gotten to meet quite a few students and stuff. And so I just wanted to serve in what area I could. And then the leader last year, she's in her dissertation now, so they needed someone else to come in and sort of help lead. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of in June, July was like, okay, I'm starting to make plans. And then my aging parents needed a lot of help. And so I'm in the still in the crux of August, into July, August, and hopefully by the first week of September, I'll have them moved into an assisted living and have them have more care now so I can get back to all my little work details that are falling through the cracks. So if you haven't heard from me, that's why I've just been trying to get my course up and running and then trying to make sure that my kids and my parents are taken care of. So, but if you haven't made plans to come in February to Memphis, make plans to come to the conference. Registration's not open yet or anything, but you'll learn so much. Present a poster, do something, even something little. The abstract ends September 10th for student poster submissions. So if you can present, put something together, you just have to submit an abstract by September 10th and then you can do your poster later. But it's a great networking for students, but you'll just learn about this whole research world and this whole PhD situation. So it's been very informative and I've really gotten to feel a part of a research community just as a student. So that's probably more information than y'all wanted, but
No, it's great, and that you're doing so much, and we're so proud of you. So
well,
just keep up
thank you.
the good work. And I'm
I will.
so glad you mentioned the SNRS conference. The dates are February 19th through the 21st next year in Memphis. And I just saw the email, the second call for student abstracts go out maybe 30 minutes ago. So
Oh,
really, as students, you guys have valuable information to share, and we would love to have your contributions at the conference. To give you a little bit more information about the SNRS Student Network, it actually has been around for a while, but what we're trying to do is reinvigorate it and get it going again. So the SNRS Student Network is a student-led committee. So all students in SNRS are technically members of the SNRS Student Network. Yay, like you have a place, okay? And then every year we elect new leaders, a chair-elect, and a secretary. And let me make sure I'm not missing a position. Chair-elect, and a secretary. And then we also elect student members to standing committees on SNRS. So we have a student representative on the development committee, on the membership committee, on the communication committee. So start thinking about those rules for next year, because we'll put out around the conference, we'll put out a call for those leadership positions. And this is a committee that you as students have a stake in, and you can make the direction. You can take it wherever you want. It's a great opportunity to network with fellow students. So with that being said, this presentation today, been there, done that, advice for new doctoral students. Um, this was one of the initiatives that the Student Network Committee wanted to see, and we wanted to have an opportunity just to share experiences that you might be having as new doctoral students or maybe midway doctoral students. And then also to ask questions from other students. I know that sometimes it can be a little easier to ask a question of a peer than it is of a mentor or a faculty. So this is just a safe space. With that being said, we do have some panelists I'd like to introduce. And please, say hi, add anything that you would like to add once I introduce you. So we have Elizabeth Coleman. She's a PhD student at UAB in Birmingham, and she's in her proposal defense right now. Elizabeth, do you have anything you'd like to say or add?
I don't think so. Oh, I did go to SNRS conference last year and it was really, really fun. So if y'all are available, I think y'all should all come. I know a few of us are coming out from UAB, so it's gonna be really fun.
Yes, I loved attending as a student, and I still attend, and you meet so many great people. So thank you, Elizabeth. That's awesome. Okay, and I'm gonna introduce Leslie Pitts. She did the dual DMP PhD program, and so correct me if I'm wrong, you're beginning year 3, but you already have your DMP or no? And she's also a student at UAB.
Yeah,
And with
it's
her,
real confusing.
yeah, and then with her is Allie Armstrong, since she's in the same um, office. Allie is beginning her 2nd year, and she's a PhD student at UAB as well. So Allie and Leslie, if you want to introduce yourself or add anything else.
Sure. I was just thinking this morning when I was walking in, like, what semester am I on now? And I'm about to start my 10th semester. So this is actually the start of my 4th year. So, but I am finished with the DNP. I finished all of my DNP work last December. And this is my last semester of coursework before I go into, proposal defense, IRB, and dissertation hours for next year. And I'm hoping to graduate in December of next year.
Great. And Allie?
Yeah, so I did not know a lot about SNRS prior to last year, and my mentor is very involved in SNRS, and we actually encouraged me to attend one of the pre-conferences that was for students. And I've actually ended up connecting with a lot of people through SNRS. I've been able to do some like qualitative coding with someone. I've been able to do some other work. I found several people who had similar interests, like research interests as me. And so it really was a great place to network for newer students.
Great. And don't be afraid to go up when you go to the conference. Don't be afraid to go up and say hi to someone. Everyone loves talking to students. And so I hope that you all get to experience that. Next, we have Ashley Harlow. She is a 5th year PhD candidate at Duke. So welcome, Ashley.
Thank you so much. My first SNRS conference I attended in New Orleans, went to a Mardi Gras parade with my 12-week-old infant strapped to my chest and did my poster presentation with her as well. So I think that is like definitely something I'm very excited or happy to talk to anyone about, is the experience of parenting during a doctoral program. I have 3 kids. And yeah, I'm currently recruiting for my dissertation study. So like Leslie, I can see the end of a tunnel, and I'm like hoping that the light will approach me sooner than I think. But next December seems most likely for me as well. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. Thank you for joining us. And I'm sure, I feel like there are several people who could probably talk about parenting and young parents too. I'm excited to hear your experiences. Okay, we have Dawn Ziegler. She is completing she's a third year part-time student at the University of West Georgia, working on an EDD in nursing education.
Hi, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Dawn Ziegler. I am in my, what is it, seventh semester now, starting my third year, so I'm doing it part-time. So I have 4 more classes to do to finish up the didactic portion of my EDD, and then I'll go into comps and dissertation. So thank you. It's nice to meet everybody.
Great. And then we also have Nicole Hernandez, who's completing her EDD at the University of West Georgia as well. And Nicole, I'm sorry, I don't have what stage of the program you're at.
I'm currently in my comprehensive exam. So the submission's due on the 24th of September. All 5 calendars everywhere have been marked. So I'm in that kind of stressful, high stakes stage right now. So
Oh my goodness.
also I know Dawn very well. She's fabulous and wonderful. We started at the same time. She's part-time, I'm full-time. So we've done a lot of courses together, but we've kind of hit that separate stage now. So both starting year 3, but yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, because I do know that that is very stressful. So we really appreciate your time. Okay, next we have Zandy Vargovich. I hope I said that right. And she's also at the University of West Georgia, completing an EDD, and she's in her second semester of her dissertation.
Hi, everybody. I was on the full-time track, and my goal this semester is to propose, get approved with IRB, and start my study. I'm so ready. And I remember all little phases along the way, so hopefully some of my words today can help everyone else.
Yes, of course. And last but not least, we have Carrie Mao. I hope I said your name right. I'm really sorry if I didn't. She is at University of West Georgia as well, and she is working on an EDD DMP. So, Carrie, please correct anything.
Sure, you said my last name right, so well
Oh,
done.
thanks.
I actually already have my DNP. I've had my DNP for 14 years. So I went back to get my EDD because I felt like I needed a little bit more education on education. So I am with Sandy. Sandy and I've had quite a few courses together, and I am part-time. I'm in the dissertation phase. I'm in semester 3, and I that's what I'll say about that right now. So yep, I'm writing. That's what I can say. Thank you for having us, though. We appreciate it.
We are so happy you're here. And I love that everyone is on like their own little what you'll find that when you go through your doctoral program, you have what you're doing right then is like all encompassing, correct? Like this is what I'm focused on. And there's so many different stages of a doctoral program. So I'm glad that we have someone from every stage here to share their experiences with us. Just as we get started, we do have a couple of questions we've come up with, and I'll ask those. And then please, my panelists, please feel free to ask questions or to answer questions as you feel they apply to you. And then after those questions, we'll open it up to all attendees for any other questions that come up, or if you just want to comment something. We'd really like this to be as interactive and as safe as possible to find out whatever you want to know. Okay. So our first question today, and again, any student is welcome to answer this, is what motivated you to pursue a doctoral degree, and how did you choose your specific dissertation project?
I'll go first. So I always knew I wanted to pursue a doctoral degree at some point. And then when I applied to teach, I teach in the PMP program at UAB. They kind of mentioned that I might be able to get a free PhD. And I was like, sign me up. I'm going to do it. Because I knew I'd do it at some point. So why not do it now? What better time than the present? I do have two little kids, so I was nervous about that. But it really has been fine. I've learned how to, balance life, and I've been able to spend tons of time with my kids. I don't feel like they've been neglected at all. And I've been able to just be really efficient with my time, and it's worked out fine. And I chose my specific dissertation topic because I've always been interested in mental health and obesity and um, nutrition. And so over the years, my mentor and teachers have helped me kind of refine my topic. So now it's the association between adiposity, self-esteem, and depressive symptoms in early adolescence. So it's a little bit of all the things that I'm most interested in life. And so it's been really fun. Um, and I forgot to mention earlier, I'm in my fourth year. And I wanted to give you words of hope, Nicole. Comprehensive exam, I felt like it was really helpful, actually. Like I actually, and I'm sure it's the way it is at UAB, where like the mentors really want to help you and they want to, help you come up with any answers to problems you might have. And yeah, I hope you'll have the same experience I did, but I actually enjoyed comprehensives.
So I know that we have some panelists who are EDD versus PhD versus DMP. So what can some of those individuals talk about and why you chose your specific program?
For me, if it's okay if I go next. So the EDD at West Georgia really spoke to me because I got my MSN in education from Kennesaw State University. And so when I looked at the courses that they were teaching and stuff like that, it really built on the knowledge that I received at Kennesaw State University. So that's why I chose the University of West Georgia. And it's been wonderful every step of the way so far. As far as my dissertation topic, I kind of have an idea of what I want to do. I haven't really chosen it exactly yet. I'm looking at, I do a lot of study abroad programs at Kennesaw State where I teach now. So I'm looking at vulnerable populations and study abroad opportunities in nursing education. So that's kind of where I'm leaning, but we'll see where it goes from there.
The reason why I chose an EDD is because where I work, we had to do a self-study for our program. And so a lot of the courses that I was learning actually really helped me understand the process of why we were doing what we were doing and how important it is. And so it was really nice to see what I was learning in school and actually being able to apply it right then. So that's one of the things that I really enjoyed. As far as starting the program, my uncle really wanted me to be a doctor something. And so I actually applied and hadn't received my acceptance yet, and he passed away. So I am continuing on in the honor so I can graduate and make him proud. And as far as my topic, I had several that I wanted to pursue just within, just doing our research in all of our courses. There was just first I started out with, wanting to do something with English as a second language because we have a lot of students in our program that struggle there. And then simulation, because we just built a new sim center at our facility. And so there was just so much to do. And I was like, well, what's the core of this? And as a nurse educator, we are a role model. And so the basis of nursing and being that role model is caring. And so that's my dissertation is on caring behaviors of nurse faculty now, post-COVID and everything. And so I had to get down from the big picture and kind of narrow things down. But it took a lot of changes. So for those starting out, if you're not sure or you're worried about it, what you started out with evolves and you'll get there. I promise you'll get there.
I'm laughing at every head being like, mm-hmm, yes. All of us are like, uh-huh, it evolved. We have like a joke at Duke that like when you introduce yourself, it's like, what's your current area? Because you know, the next time you meet someone in a class, you're like, okay, so it shifted a bit from this to over here some as you kind of situate yourself. I think that is such good advice to be patient with yourself because there is so much to explore and so many things that are interesting and your access to data will change and your questions will change and all that, even just during the course of the program. My name is Ashley Harlow, and I was a bedside nurse for a long time in pediatric intensive care settings. And then through other roles in nursing, kind of started to realize that some of the questions I had weren't, I didn't know how to get the answers to them. And through really excellent mentorship from doctorally prepared nurses, they were like, have you thought about, joining our, I don't want to call it a cult, our club? Like, have you thought about doctoral preparation? And for a long time, I was really resistant to that because I just felt like, oh, I don't know if that's for me. That's so going to be so hard, honestly. And I think the more time I spent with parents, especially, and parents whose children had experienced life-threatening events, the more I started to realize, like, I really want to know the answers to these questions, and I don't think I'm going to feel satisfied until I try to get some of those answers. So that really informed my dissertation project, which is around parents' experiences and congenital heart care, primarily in their participation in their child's care. But it took me 2 years in my program probably to like really get there, if not longer, to like really center on the question. Some things I knew, and some things were really like, oh wow, that's so interesting. Like, what about decision making or something else? Like there was a journey. It's a journey, and I've been trusting the process since the beginning. But I think unanswered questions really were what drew me, like in my clinical practice, or what drew me to doctoral education.
Yeah, I'll agree with what Ashley said. I started, my background was in pediatric endocrinology, and I worked there as an NP. I actually worked in the PICU with Ashley many, many years ago, but then I moved to pediatric endocrinology, and I was very passionate about that. That was what I kind of considered to be my dream career, and I really didn't ever really want to leave it, but also kind of in the back of my mind, like there was always this nagging of like, one day I'm going to get my doctorate. I don't know what that's going to look like. And so because I liked my job and I didn't want to leave my job, I started in the DNP program because I felt like it was a better way to kind of keep working and kind of balance everything I was trying to balance. And my clinical experiences are what kind of sent me to school. I wanted to answer questions and improve practice for a particular group of patients that I cared for, but I knew kind of very quickly that improving practices was great, but it wasn't still going to answer the questions I wanted. But I wanted both. So, I had very good mentorship as well that kind of kept telling me, you should try this dual pathway. And, the funding was a big influence that I could, continue to put food on the table at home while going to school. And so I did make that hard decision 2 years ago now to leave clinical practice, and that has been really hard for me, but I've really enjoyed the process. And I will say, just like everyone has said, you start with an idea and it is going to evolve so much over the time, and you just have to trust that process.
Y'all, such great feedback and great advice. Did anyone have the experience where you wanted to do your project on one thing, but your mentor or your chair or whoever said, no, like, let's do something else? Did anyone experience that? And if so, would you mind sharing or how you navigated that?
So I did. I had that. I think you probably already knew that. But I did. So I also worked with Leslie in pediatric endocrinology. So I've worked in endocrine or been in our endocrine clinic, at least involved in some way, for about 12 years. And I actually really, really love pediatric endocrinology. But my research interest, I really wanted to do something, I guess, a little bit more personal to me. So My husband and I are foster parents and have been for a little over 7 years. And so I really wanted to do something related to medically complex children in foster care. And so it was a conversation with my mentors, I guess. They really just wanted to know that I had thought all the way through it. It wasn't necessarily like you can't, but they were like, you sure you don't want to do diabetes? I actually love diabetes, but I just wanted to really get to know and learn, like spend the years learning about the population that I knew ultimately that I wanted to be involved with. And so I will say I have a lot of other like professional connections and ties, like other than just my personal experience as a foster parent. Like I'm on NAP's Alliance for Children in Foster Care, their education committee. So it wasn't like just personal experience. It was through my experience in lots of those committees that I learned that those kids really needed just advocates. And it's a very, very, very under-researched area because it's challenging to access. And so actually for my dissertation, I'm studying caregivers of medically complex children in foster care and how we can impact the kids' outcomes based on the adults.
Thank you for sharing. I actually was not thinking about you, but I'm glad that I guess maybe subconsciously, but that's good. Someone once told me as a student, just because you do your doctoral project on one thing does not mean that you are stuck with it for the rest of your life. And so I think that's just a good thing to keep in the back of your mind if maybe you're not as pleased with what you can do. Realistically, you're a student and it's okay. And at the end of the day, there's only so much we can do. But the end goal is that you're going to graduate and you're going to have this skill set that you can go on and do so many wonderful things. So I'm glad that you guys have shared that. Moving on to the next question, which is kind of similar. So what has been the most challenging aspect of being a doctoral student and how have you overcome it? And maybe you're in the midst of it. So how are you handling it?
So for me, my biggest challenge I just recently overcame, so it was getting access to schools. For my study, I'm doing my measures in schools, and I thought I had a school district identified. I had been in touch with a research coordinator. It sounded like everything was going to go great. And then after kind of holding on to my study for a while, they said, oh, just kidding, you can't do your study here. And so I frantically contacted all these other schools. One school district then said, probably we can do your study next semester, just not this semester because we're overwhelmed. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I lost time there because I kind of thought that they were going to let me do my study. And then they turned out to also say no. So I frantically contacted everyone I knew. But I now do have 2 school sites, 2 middle schools. One I found through randomly just searching school districts in Birmingham and emailed, online you can find like the principal and the teaching coordinator or learning there. It's a different title at every single school district. But anyway, I got an email back and the principal said, sure, we'd love to do your study. And then another one I found through another faculty member at UAB. I was complaining at her about how stressed out I am that I can't find a study site because I needed a second one. And she said, oh, my friend's a principal out in the middle of nowhere, Alabama. Do you mind driving an hour and a half? I said, I would love to drive an hour and a half. And she found me my second site. So as long as I'm able to recruit enough students at these 2 sites, I should be set. But it was very, very stressful. And I was very nervous and I prayed a lot and I complained a lot, but it worked out in the end, hopefully.
So, Elizabeth, I'm so glad that that's worked out. But I would like to say you did not complain a lot. You networked a lot, right? So you as a student, you can network and you can make these connections. Everyone you talk to about your research or your project, you are networking. So anyone else want to share a challenge they faced and how they overcame it?
I would share just a few things different, separate from research, just overall pursuing your education and continuing in the program is the balance between likely many of you work full time and have families. And of course, it's all of those things that we talk about, that kind of that falsity of balance, but just giving yourself some grace and, you know, keep your eyes focused on the ultimate end goal, but also finding people around you that will support you. In my part-time program, I have 3 caring, we call it ourselves the caring peers, and we're all in different states, but we talk once a week and we have a group me and we also text each other all the time. And that has been hugely impactful on my success. So definitely just surrounding yourself with either your colleagues where you work or, you know, your peers in the program, so important. And just, you know, giving yourself a little bit of grace along the way.
I would like to share a little bit too, kind of piggybacking off of Carrie, and it kind of goes into the networking question, but I don't think I've overcome my challenge, and I'm okay with that because it's part of healing. But for me, my father passed away unexpectedly in April while I was in school full time, and so I had taken a new job a year ago at a new institution and had moved away from family while also going through this program. And then also the unexpected loss of my father in April. And so it was just all of these challenges during a period of my life where it already is challenging. But I made a lot of strong relationships and networks with people that I was in school with, and then also at my new job. And so the support and love and kindness and caring that I have received from so many people have been instrumental in me continuing in the program, because something like that happens and it's a, can I even continue right now while I'm trying to, you know, help my family deal with this, and then personally going through that loss as well, while, you know, juggling a family and all of those other things. And so currently where I'm at, I still feel the challenge and the weight of everything, but I'm so thankful for the support that and the network I have connected with people, because without that, I don't think I would be able to be continuing on right now where I'm at.
I'm so sorry about your loss, and thank you for sharing that, Nicole. Um, it's okay to reach out, need help, and the people who are in your cohort are so great for those resources. And I think I keep hearing that from everyone that they have that support system. So just please don't lose sight of that. And I'll say personally, I still meet with my cohort who I graduated in 2017. We still meet every other week. So it just is, lean on your support system because it makes everything so easy. We can't do research alone. Kind of switching to the work-life balance since we brought that up, because I do feel like we can talk a little bit more about that since that is a big challenge that students face. How are you managing work-life balance, and what advice do you have for early stage doctoral students as they're now transitioning to being students? You know, some students have been students their whole life, and some are just getting back into the swing of being a student. So what advice could you offer these early doctoral stage students and the work-life balance and trying to manage that specific challenge?
I think piggybacking on what Carrie said before, you got to give yourself grace. Um, you know, I went back to school after 11 years and it was very challenging because, you know, APA changed. I wasn't, you know, in the swing, and I went full time. So I started out with 4 classes, going from no school, boom, 4 classes, working full time. And I had a son just starting high school and a daughter, you know, 3rd grade. So it was challenging to say the least in the beginning. And I had to be okay to let go of a lot of things. Like okay, the house looks a little disarray. It's for right this right now. It's not forever, you know, or I had to be like, okay, I can miss some practices, but I'll be there for the concert, you know, and I had to be okay. And I really had that heart to heart with my family. I'm like, look, you know, this is something I want to do. I really need your support, you know, so just having that conversation, because my children were kind of younger, my daughter, and I had to explain to her, it's not that I don't want to be there for you, but you know, I can't be there for everything. And just having that heart to heart and being okay with not being there. You know, it's hard, but it's just like we tell our students in nursing school, okay, it's just we got to give ourselves some grace.
Thank you. Ashley, do you want to share your experiences? Because I know you talked about having a young child and while doing the doctoral program. So I'm sure that that had some unique challenges with work-life balance.
It made for some great photos of my advisor and my infant and I in front of the Muses parade with covered in beads. It was pretty fun. But yeah, I have 3 little kids. So my oldest is almost 6. So she was 2 when I started the program. My middle child was 3 months old when I started the program in 2020. And then my youngest was born in the middle of my 2nd year. She's the only one that's been able to attend a conference with me so far, involuntarily. But what are you going to do? You know? And I think for me, gosh, Sandra, you really hit it on the head. There is so much balance between like, oh, it's the classroom tea party for what, you know, there's just always something, whether you have children or even just other people in your life, that you care about, there is always something that you kind of have to do the weighing and the balancing of prioritization. Sometimes I would say, look, like that paper is going to wait. That's probably why I'm coming to you live from the top of my 5th year. But with 3 kids, the ages I had, I mean, they have a lot of physical and emotional needs right now. I don't envy my colleagues who have kids that are older, because honestly, I think those challenges are even more complex with scheduling and emotion and peer relationships and all that sort of stuff. So I am just trying to be present in the stage I'm in. One thing I will say that has been, I think, kind of like a silver lining of some of the stresses of parenting young children while trudging through a doctoral program is that, you know, I think if I didn't have things to force me to alter my focus from time to time, it's very easy to just get like stuck in your work and like work yourself to death. And in the same way where if you like go take a shower and stop thinking about whatever, you're like, aha, this is the solution to my budget or whatever. If those times I take breaks from my work because I have to, because it's something with my family or my friends or myself or whatever, that sometimes like provides me a little space from the thinking that gives me a little clarity of thought. So I've tried to find that as like a silver lining, because yeah, I was like really tired for a few years. Like it was very difficult sometimes to get through it, but it is just like a one day at a time, trust the process sort of thing for me. And I think I felt really supported in my program by my peers, by my advisors, by the faculty, that like the children in my family were like part of the Doosan PhD program too. Like they were also a part of it. And so that really helped, knowing that I could lean on others to kind of understand where I was in that phase or give me grace when I needed it, like taking leave after my daughter was born. Like there was no way I was going to be doing any doctoral level thinking with a newborn. Like you can barely get, you know, yourself out of bed some days because you're so tired. So I felt really supported to take time. And also I think it helps me shift my focus in a way that's productive and provides some space from, you know, the constant churning of ideas in your head that has helped me find a little clarity in some of my work.
Thank you for sharing. I also have 2 tiny kids, and so I agree with a lot of what you said. But I wanted to share something a little bit different about just work-life balance. And this is actually advice that was given to me from someone on this call. So thank you, Elizabeth Coleman. But before I started, while I have also been extremely supported by my peers and absolutely love my cohort, just not to compare yourself to everyone in your cohort, just because everybody's journey is so different and people get stressed about different things, different workloads, different amounts, and what works for you may not work for them. Like waking up early might work for you, staying up late might work for you, working super hard during the work hours. I guess just finding what works for you and then not letting like all of the chatter make you feel like you're more anxious than you are. I don't know, because like sometimes I'll feel like I'm like, okay, I actually get this one. And then there's other times that maybe somebody else really gets it and I'm like, ah. So just allowing yourself to, I don't know if y'all agree with that, but it's been
No,
a
I
big
agree
thing
with
for me.
I agree with that totally. The comparing thing is an issue, and also people work differently. So for me, I dedicate a day a week to writing right now. Whereas my peers, they all write every evening for an hour. They set a timer and write for an hour. I could never do that. That doesn't work for me. I need to immerse myself in what I'm doing for short bursts of time. But even in that way, you compare, are they doing it better? Should I be doing it that way? And so just finding what works for you and recognizing that might not work for everybody, but it works for you. And don't be afraid to share ideas, but don't get caught in the comparison trap because you'll never win. It just never stops.
Yeah, Elizabeth looked at me before she started. She was like, you have two small kids. I have two small kids. Like, you're going to be fine. You just figure out what works for you and don't listen to everybody. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And I have held very true to it, and it has been helpful.
We actually have a question in the chat. Has anyone had to take off from their program, like take a break during the program and restart? And if so, what was that like? Has anyone experienced that on the call? No. Okay. Oh wait, actually,
I did.
okay.
Yeah, I took a parental leave after my daughter was born. Duke allows for, it's actually really quite flexible. You can sort of decide about it with your mentor. And luckily she was really conveniently timed her birth to be right between semesters. So like, thank you for that. So it's like a really easy split. I just took basically a course on a delayed schedule. But some of my colleagues, I put this in the chat, like, Mia, thank you for your question, because I think like life happens to everyone, whether it's the loss of someone close to you, personal illness, COVID, I mean, any number of things, catastrophic, debt that you didn't expect, all kinds of things happen to people. Like life is always happening. And we all know this because we're nurses. So we've seen it in so many ways anyway, but there's almost always a way, like, to take the time you need. And I think it's been really the culture here, and a lot of people I know in other programs, it's like, do what you need to do to take care of yourself so that you can do this work rather than like grind it out, suffer, hurry. So I did take that leave. I took, I think it ended up being about 14 weeks and just completed the courses for that particular semester, like on a delayed schedule, took it and complete and finished them almost more like an independent study. And luckily the timing worked that I was able to do that. And I found it, I don't think I wouldn't have gotten anything out of it if I had tried to slog through in that phase of my life.
Thank you for sharing that. I guess I know some of my peers in their programs, they were a little afraid to stop, because then it's like that thought, if I stop, what's going to make me keep going? So I just want to take that thought out of your mind. If you have to take a break, take a break. This program and your program will always be here waiting for you, and you can restart and you can do it. So don't give up. You can do it. Okay, so let's talk about networking. So how important has networking been during your doctoral program? And what tips do you have for others to build a professional network? So you as a doctoral student can build a professional network, right? So what tips do you have for other doctoral students in building that network and networking with others?
So of course, go to SNRS. That's the easy answer. You can network a whole lot there, and you're like in your other professional conferences. So like for us PMPs, we like to go to NAP. And then also, even if you're a distant student, like trying to spend time at your university and getting to know the faculty members, I think is really helpful. Like I said earlier, that's how I found one of my sites, was talking to a instructor, a professor at UAB, and that's how I got my site. So just trying to spend time there, getting to know the faculty, I think is really helpful and will be really helpful to us later on in our careers. And also if your mentor has like writing groups, my mentor's writing groups, Sarah's a member of it. It is fabulous. And I feel like I could ask any of those people in our writing group any question, and they would be so helpful. And I've learned so much from talking with these amazing people and getting to know them. So yeah, I would say ask your mentor if you can join their writing group or if they can help with your networking, because your mentor probably knows a lot of really helpful people. So that's another really good way to network. But yes, SNRS conference, definitely.
I appreciate the shameless plug. Please go to the SNRS conference. What about other people? How has networking been for you? And what have you found to be helpful?
So I know for me, because going to University of West Georgia, it's in Georgia and I live in Maine. So I am very distant and I haven't, met, shook hands with anybody, none of my faculty. And so I know my first semester, I just felt really isolated going through all of the courses and just trying to survive and juggle everything. And then right when we were about to start semester 2, I said, I can't do this by myself. I need to establish a network of peers. And so I sent out a text message to our group message of, hey, does anybody want to meet? Can we start a group study? And Dawn took me up on it, and a couple other very lovely ladies did. And we just made meetings at least once a week. Sometimes we did impromptu extra ones, but everyone was so great. And so I think, it is kind of scary to put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm struggling by myself. Am I alone in this? And possibly get crickets, but that didn't happen. I was lucky enough to have a lot of people connect. And so I think just kind of taking that opportunity and putting yourself out there and just being the first one to step forward to make those peer-to-peer connections are really important, especially if you're very far away like I am. I need that support.
I love that, Nicole. Like, I love that you went out on a limb and it like at the benefit of it. I think so often we're so afraid to try something new, but kudos to you. I'm so glad that worked out for you. What about others?
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off of Nicole to say, she wasn't alone and that at that particular moment, because we were all feeling isolated. Even though I'm here in Georgia, I'm still like an hour away from West Georgia. So I've never really met my professors and stuff like that at that point. So I was glad that she reached out, and I was like, yes, let's get together, let's study. But also attending different conferences, going to the GAIN conference, going to, for me as a community health nurse, going to the Ashney conference, and networking there has helped as well as getting on a writing team, as like other people are talking about. I was invited to join a writing team here at Kennesaw State University regarding one of the simulations that we had created. And so that's been very beneficial as well. So yeah, I just want to echo all of that as well.
Okay, and I just want to clarify because we had a question in the chat about what a writing group is. Writing groups can be, some people do it differently. So some people choose to come together and write a manuscript together, and that's how my writing group functions. So we have about 9 people in that group, and we meet at least every 2 weeks. And each manuscript, someone takes the lead on a different topic that interests them. And so because of this, we're all pediatric nurses. But because of this, I now have a better understanding of sleep health, which I didn't before, but because I'm stressed and diabetes distress. So we all take turns coming up with a topic, and then we all work on one manuscript together at the same time. And then once that's submitted, a new person takes over. And for me, that was very productive because it kept me active in research, even when after you graduate, you might not have funding or you're still trying to figure it out. Like for me on tenure track, it was one of the greatest things I could do. So with your peers, like what Nicole said, if you want to get together and say, hey, anyone in my class like interested in this topic, do you want to write a manuscript together? That's one way you can establish it. Other people do writing groups where they work on their own projects, but they just get together for a certain amount of time every week. And it's kind of a collective that you're in the same room, it's quiet, and it just holds you accountable to complete writing. Because for some people, you know, it's easy to say, oh, no, I'm not gonna, I'll do it next week. So I hope that that helps clarify the writing groups. A lot of, there's different, or like in your schools or organizations, there might be research interest groups that you can connect with. But also, and I'm going to do a plug for RIGS at SNRS. So SNRS has research interest and implementation groups. And so if you're part of one of those RIGS, they usually have similar topics of interest. Connect with those members of those RIGS if you're looking for a group to write with or with similar interest. That would be a great way to get started too. Did I miss anything on writing groups? Anyone else have anything they want to add? No? Okay. Well, I do. Okay, let's move on to the last question and then we'll open it up. But in hindsight, what's a key skill that you gained during your doctoral program that's been helpful?
I can start. Learning to say no has been a very important skill. I say yes to things too that I might not have before, but sometimes it's like I can't be everything to all people at all times. And that's like maybe the little childhood trauma people pleaser in me, but like learning to balance, like, you know, my time is precious and my family's time is precious. And so learning to say no has been something I've been practicing during my time in the program. So I can do what I know I need to do at the time I need to do it.
I think for me, I've become very efficient in my working because I know I have like a very limited time to get a paper done, and it's got to get done in that period of time because I don't want to spend my afternoons and evenings working on a paper instead of spending time with my kids. And so I like literally just became very, very efficient out of necessity. I used to take longer to write papers, and in this program, I did not. I just put it out there, I did my readings and I wrote my papers, and, you know, I just became very, very efficient.
I've been loving the questions in the chat. If any of our attendees have a question that they want to ask, please feel free to unmute yourself or write it in the chat while we're starting to wrap up. While I'm waiting for any questions to come through, I will also let you guys know SNRS is offering 2 scholarships for students this year to attend the conference. It's $750 stipend. So those applications for the scholarships to attend the conference, I think they're going out in mid-September. So please be on the lookout for that. And then we're also revamping this SNRS Student Network website. And so we'll put information about the scholarships there, as well as the recording from today's presentation. And if you have anything that you think would be beneficial to you as a student, like I want more information about this, please let me or Annette know. We're here for you. We're happy to help, or you can email info@snrs.org. But we're really trying to build a repository of resources, for students. Okay, we do have a question about how many of you are working full-time and attending school? Show of hands. I work full-time and attended school too. Okay. And then we have 2 people who look like 2 other people who just are working part-time and attending school full-time, or attending school part-time. Is it a part-time and part-time, or part-time and full-time?
I can't work. I'm on a federal grant, so I am full-time enrolled in school,
Okay.
sadly, for my budget.
That's great. And I
But yeah,
think
full-time school.
Leslie
Yeah.
is similar, that you're funded. So you
I am also a
work.
full-time student, but it comes with a lot of like baggage that I wasn't prepared for, maybe, as like coming into it. You know, that it's like, yes, we're giving you a stipend and we're paying your tuition, but you know, you have to give something in return too. So, and that has changed over the months. So like one semester, you know, I might be required to do this extra class or do this presentation or do this. And now I'm a graduate teaching assistant, so I'm going to be working with bachelor's of nursing students that are having difficulty in their courses and like doing tutoring that way. So it's been interesting. I mean, I've had to learn a lot of different roles and things. And then I've also worked a lot with my mentors' research teams and been involved with a lot of different research projects in that way, which has been good. But it's sometimes it's challenging because it's like you've got to learn a new job this month. So
You'll be a jack of all trades by the end of it. We do have a question. I know that this is for the website too, but does anyone have any resources that they found helpful when trying to choose a thesis, like identifying a thesis? Any recommendations of things to look at?
I'm not sure I could recommend a specific resource, but I can recommend an exercise that really helped me. I went through something, and there's articles about this. It's called career cartography or legacy mapping. There's like different ways it's talked about, but it's kind of like I'm over here, and on the right hand side of my paper is like what the 1 or 2 sentences that describe like what I want my career or impact on the world to be, and sort of like what happens in the middle. And you can kind of then think about like what am I doing, and there might be a million steps in the middle, right? You know, if your career goal is really lofty, like improve care of children, or you know, it can be anything. That really helped me kind of think through like what's getting me where I want to go, what's like helping me make the impact I want to have. And similarly, like on a smaller scale, mind mapping, I would just like draw out. I'm a visual person. I'm like, oh, I'm doodling on the whiteboard, but I would write out like all different ideas about things I was reading or things that were interesting, and like really be thoughtful about like what's actually getting me excited. Because if you're not excited about it, you are not going to want to talk about it for 3.5 to 5 years. Like it's just, or you'll just like really burn out. So that helped guide me a little bit too, and like what's really getting me excited and interested and I want to learn more about. If you find a resource that tells you how to choose your dissertation topic, if anyone knows that, I am taking notes. Please let me know.
No, I love that you're mind mapping, and I think that's a great idea. I would just reiterate, this is just a small portion of your career, right? And you can't accomplish everything as a student. So just try to pick one topic in the big scheme of things that you can focus on for the next 3.5 to 5 years. That you know, what do you want to date for the next 3.5 to 5 years? Okay, and then Mia asked, is it common to have multiple revisions of your proposal? I love that everyone's shaking their head. Yes, yes, it is. You will write and rewrite and rewrite. So yeah, and just stick with it. It will get better. I promise you that. Anyone else want to say anything on that?
I can't count the number of times I've written chapter 1. Like I can't even tell you a number.
Yeah. I totally. Does anyone also save it to everywhere? Like you save it to your Google Drive and to your desktop and to a USB drive?
And I email it to myself.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're not going crazy. It is completely normal. And you'll probably have a mentor that will say, perhaps you should consider blah, blah, blah. And then you'll say, I thought I had thought about everything. So.
Well, and I would say be open-minded to your feedback from your committee and your mentors. They're there to help you. They want you to succeed too. So don't be like, oh, I got to write this again, or I feel you feel like you went back to what your original document was after all the revisions. But just be mindful and be accepting of their help, and they're there to help you.
So there is one more question, and we'll answer this question and then wrap it up just for the sake of time, if that's okay. So are most people doing traditional dissertations, or is there anyone doing a non-traditional dissertation? Which, from my understanding, I would, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, a traditional dissertation is the 5 chapters, where maybe the non-traditional dissertation is 3 publications. Is that correct? What we're on?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Do any of you have experience with doing the publications versus the chapters? So Ashley
I'm
said
aiming
that
for,
Duke
we
has
have the
the
option to do either. Yeah, I'm aiming for publications just because it seems like a more productive means to an end. But I think that is challenging with timelines sometimes. So I've seen people kind of do like a combination, and it ends up being more of a traditional defense of the entirety of it, where one or two of the chapters may already have gone through peer review and been published.
yeah.
I started off planning to do the 3-chapter and then I couldn't get my first paper published. And so I went back to doing the traditional, but then I finally got it published. So I might be able to do 3 manuscript. It's a whole thing, but I have heard they're very similar amounts of work to do both. So I don't think it makes a huge difference, but I think I'm hopefully going to do the 3 manuscript.
Okay, so some people with non-traditional, and again, it's going to be, so I guess there's publishable papers. So you have to write the manuscript, but it doesn't necessarily have to be published. So that's helpful to know.
I
Okay.
think I can share more if you'd like, the
Yeah.
difference between traditional and non-traditional. So when you do traditional dissertation and you write your 5 chapters, you put in a massive amount of work, but you can never publish it in the way it is written. So it goes into repository, but it never goes through like peer review into a journal, like indexed, like an official publication, unless you completely rewrite it. If you go in a non-traditional and you prepare 3 manuscripts, it is not mandatory that they're published at the time that you defend it, but you can revise them and you can rewrite them, adjust them, and you can eventually publish them. But I've heard that when you do that traditional dissertation, nobody wants to look at it ever again. Because it is so massive. And when you think about completely rewriting it, it just makes it like, I don't even want to look at it. So that was the difference, because when I first started, I didn't know the difference. And when that was explained to me, I said, I will never write 5 chapters that I have to rewrite again. Just don't. If you have that option, if your school offers that, I find that it's more appealing to do 3 publishable manuscripts.
And I think at UAB, you're supposed to get 1 published and like the other should be like submitted, I think is what I think it's different at every school probably, but that's kind of the idea, is that you're going to publish them. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, thank you all. Thank you, panelists, for your time. And thank you to all the students who attended. Great questions. And I just love the fact that everyone was involved. So I really appreciate everyone's time. So again, be on the lookout to join or for leadership opportunities on the SNRS Student Network. Submit abstracts. Those are due September 10th, I think. There was just a call that went out. And then be on the lookout for student scholarships to support attendance at the SNRS conference. We will host another session for this. Oh, I also want to do this or share this. We are going to host a speed dating session for students at the SNRS conference. So have that, be on the lookout for a sign up form coming your way as we start registering for the conference. But again, thank you all. Annette, any last words?
No, just thank y'all for coming, and boy, I learned a lot. I was really just excited to see how many people showed up and just all the great information that was shared. This really helps us know that, we're not alone and we're doing okay. I think we're all probably on the right track.
Great. Yes, I agree. You're not alone. And feel free to ask for help when you need it. So I hope everyone has a great Friday and a great weekend, and we will see you soon.